condolences to you. I think you lost your wife recently.
Yeah, October 7th or 2nd. Coming up will be 2 years.
How long were you guys married?
62 years. Yeah.
62 years.
Yeah.
That's got to be hard to lose your partner of 62 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been hard getting along, yeah.
Yeah. So just to set this up, I want people to know what we're getting into here. You were at one time the captain on the 1,000-foot Columbia Star, yes?
Right.
Yeah.
8 years, yeah.
8 years on there.
Yeah.
Wow. Some of the other boats you were captain on?
Oh, yeah. I was on the Fred R. White captain and J. Tomlinson, Sylvania, Buckeye,
Wow, a lot of
Middletown.
Really?
Yeah.
The Middletown.
Well, you're back and forth.
What was the best handling boat you were ever on? The one that responded to all your commands?
1,000-footer.
Really?
Best, yeah. Very
No
best
kidding.
by far.
Yeah. Like the Columbia Star, did it have side thrusters and
Two
bow?
bow thruster and a stern thruster, yeah.
Really?
So you could do anything you wanted with it. I don't think I used a tug in 8 years. I don't think I used a tug maybe 8 times or something like that, maybe.
What was the top speed of the Columbia Star? Like 18 mile an hour? Would it go that
yeah.
fast?
Normally, I had it up to 28 or something.
Are you
one time
serious?
Racing, yeah. We pumped it out real empty, you know. I beaten this guy out of the Sioux Locks up to the Superior, so I opened her up. And there was no wind, not a breath of wind.
Sure.
Water was like glass, so we just pumped her out and let her go.
Yeah.
Because the bow was out of water.
Oh, wow. Give me a sense of how long it takes to slow down a 1,000-foot ship. You just can't go straight reverse, can you?
Normal top speed was maybe like 14, 15.
Okay.
And it'd take a mile to stop it.
So when you're going to park the Columbia Star, you have to think ahead.
Yep. You're going into port, you're always slowing down way ahead of time. You have to. Because the bow thruster and stern thruster don't do much at over 5-6 mile an hour, you know. It don't have much push sideways, you know.
Sure. And the slower you're going, the more it's going to respond to a thruster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I get that. And most interesting is that you worked on the Edmund Fitzgerald. How long were you there?
4 years.
4 years.
1969, 72.
Gotcha. So that would have been during the Captain McSorley era.
1 year.
1 year was.
1 year.
The last year you were there.
Last year with McSorley, yeah.
But before we get to all that stuff on the Fitzgerald, I want to get a sense of where you come from and how you got to be what you became. I think you grew up in Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Born in central Minnesota, yeah.
Central Minnesota.
Yeah, St. Joseph, Minnesota, just a small little town.
Yeah.
Went downtown there to St. Cloud, looked for a job, and all I could get was $52 a week. I said, no, I can't make a living like that. So there was an ad in the paper, Great Lakes, so I go up to Duluth, and lo and behold, the guy that takes care of the place up there, his name was Mike. He was a guard at the reformatory in St. Cloud, Minnesota, with my dad's a relation of some kind. I went up there and he said, oh, just go over and sit down. I'll take care of what I got here and I'll call you. So everything was done. He called me up and we went in the back room. Then he said, I'll put you with the best captain on the Great Lakes. I said, but you can't get a better man to go with. That's how it started.
When would that have been? 1951.
51.
Yeah. So your career stretched for what?
48 years.
48.
48 years.
Wow, that's just incredible. So let's see, you're 94. So were you born in 31?
31. Yeah.
31. And did you come from a big family?
10. Yeah.
Whoa, that's back in the era when parents had 10 kids. You know.
Yep.
Now they have 1.3.
Yeah, you're lucky if you have one at all.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up in the Great Depression. It was October 29 when it came on. So back in that time, growing up in the 1930s, most Americans ate, but there were a lot of American families that just didn't have enough food. They were in bread lines, and I'm wondering, did you always have enough food?
Oh yeah, I don't know. We lived on a farm, and
Okay.
we had cattle, but we had bees.
Bees?
Bees, yeah. We had,
that's
we had
interesting.
50
Like honeybees?
we had 50 hives of bees. We had a contract with Sears and Roebuck to buy their product, and they sell ours, So we put the honey in cans, and we had labels of Sears and Roebuck.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So growing up on a farm, you guys had food. You didn't go hungry.
No.
Because there were American families. I mean, they waited in bread lines for a loaf of bread to feed a family.
Oh yeah.
What an interesting time to grow up. Did you serve in the military?
I was in the Navy, yeah.
You were in the Navy?
Yeah. 48, 28th or something like that of September. 48?
Yeah, so
48, I guess, yeah.
Post-World War II.
Yeah.
Once you got onto the Merchant Marines on the Great Lakes, what was your progression through the ranks? Was it like deckhand?
I started out as a coal passer.
A coal passer, shoveling coal.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
Brutal job.
Yeah. I didn't care for that part of the engine room so I went on deck the next job I had, and I stayed there for the rest of my career. And it was for U.S. Steel. I was 6 years with them. And I seen these Columbia boats coming up, and they would run into January, some of them, I always had one or two of them running in January out of Toledo here. But when I seen that, we'd lay up the other boats before Thanksgiving and fit out the middle of April. You couldn't make a living like that, hardly. So I quit them and I went with Ogilvy Norton. So it was 42 years with Ogilvy Norton.
Wow. When did you retire? What was your final year?
June 98.
Was that a big adjustment for you, living on the freighters all those decades and then all of a sudden you're home?
Not really, because certainly I missed it. But now I don't even bother with it anymore. I'm not even interested, hardly.
You don't miss it?
No.
No. Okay. Do you recall your most terrifying moment on the Great Lakes when you thought to yourself, we might not make it?
That was on the JR
Zanzibar,
yeah.
Which is a really interesting story because Captain McSorley of the Fitzgerald was the captain at the time on the Zanzibar.
Right.
And you were a mate?
I was a third mate.
Third mate.
Yeah.
And can you rehash that story? What happened? You were in the Chicago Harbor?
We were running coal. It was 24 hours. We make a round trip, load coal in Chicago and run up to Oak Creek, which is south of Milwaukee, and unload and you go back and forth. And there was a storm coming, and it was a serious storm. And McSorley said, I remember him saying to the chief engineer one time, do you think we can make another trip? And the chief engineer said, yeah, sure, we'll make another trip. So, buddy and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, we made that trip, and the last one we were coming out, and where we were, Oak Creek is just a slot in the harbor. If you went all the way in your back end, you could throw a stone or something to the lake. A dock was only maybe 800 or 900 feet long, so you can't back out of there with a wind out of the north, but we did.
You did anyway.
Yeah, it was blowing pretty good. And we went down to Chicago. By that time, it was blowing pretty darn hard. It was blowing one time 80 miles an hour, we figured.
Wow. That's like getting up into hurricane force.
That's what they said at the harbor. So we dropped the anchor, and it was blowing so hard, we dragged the anchor. It didn't hold, So, we're going to have to go and ride it out. With that tremendous storm coming up they're talking about, and he's going to go out. If you drop an anchor and it drags, then you go up and you drop another anchor on the other side, and you come back on that. So you're hanging on 2 anchors now. And if you drag that anchor, you use your engine to help fight the wind or something.
Sure.
You don't go out and, and he should have never went out. He should have never went out. But he did.
But he did.
Yeah. So that's when we got out there. It's in the morning. I would come on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we were going out. I was at the wheel steering. We go out and 12 hours into the storm. So you got all this old waves coming in. They bounce off one side and they come to you. So every way you go, you're going to roll, And we did. We rolled over, and this lady there in that boat would just shudder, and you didn't know whether everything would roll to one side of the boat, all the tools and everything, Then it would finally settle back the other way, and the same thing, McSorley, I'll tell you, he was white. He was scared. He says, hey, this boat can't take it anymore. He said, we got to turn around and go back.
Meaning he thought it might roll over or break up?
Right.
Wow.
He thought it would roll over, yeah. I thought it would roll over.
So you're telling me he's wanting to turn around now and go back?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the first mate on there, Jack.
Wasn't McCarthy, was it?
Yeah, I think, yeah. He said to me, he says, Mike, he said, what the hell are we going to do? We can't get out of here. If she rolls over, we can't get out of here. We had those locked doors, to seal it. How are we going to get out of there?
I mean, were you guys formulating a plan in your head that we might
right,
have to
we're thinking
abandon
about that.
ship?
You bet. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, my God.
And so anyhow, he says, we're going to try to turn it around.
Well, McSorley, you said, was scared. Were you scared?
You're damn right I was.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And so we're going to try to turn around, And he told me, put the wheel hard over, and this captain, he should have known. You swing the boat this way, and then you get it going this way, and whichever, you gain a little each time. Swinging, see? And then you try to turn it. Well, finally, he understood, I think Jack was telling him, and we got it turned around, and of course it rolled. And we went back behind the wall. We went to anchor, but then the wind died down. We anchored with no problem at all.
So he had, Captain McSorley, who went down with the Fitz, he had a reputation as a heavy weather captain.
As a company man, we call it.
A company man. I mean, would you agree with that? That he was?
Yeah. Well, if you lose time, like the Fitzgerald or Columbia Star, if you lose an hour time, it was $2,000 or something for the company,
Just to lose an hour.
To run that boat for 1 hour. If you lose 24 hours, you got all the profit is gone,
Sure.
So, you keep that in mind when you're making decisions. And
you felt he was getting pressure from Columbia?
I don't think Columbia really put the pressure on. It never did me anyhow.
They didn't.
But the minute the boom was empty and it's going back in the saddle, you had your deckhands on the dock to immediately let go as soon as. There was no lost time. We never tried to waste time.
Right. Money is time. Time is money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a certain point where you don't go over that line,
Sure. And the situation with the Sensibar sounds like one of those times when you don't go regardless of the money.
That's right.
Do you feel like McSorley, having the reputation as a heavy weather captain, weather didn't stop him? Do you felt he took unnecessary risks at times?
I think so for that reason, yeah.
Yeah.
There were other boats went down the lake with him too, but he was the leader at the beginning, and they all started following him. They talked about going behind Isle Royal up in Canada there in Anchor, but they kept on going. Then again, I talked to the weatherman. He telling me, he said, this storm came up and went into Canada. Now, there was a high on the East Coast, a real strong high, huge high. And it come up against that high, and it bounced back. It was out on the lake, and it should have went off, and everything would have been all right. It wouldn't have been too bad. But it was the second time it went back out on the lake. Now it's more powerful than it was the second time around, you know. So when he started out, assumed there's only one storm, you know, but he didn't realize that this other low wasn't going to move in the next 24 hours. The low got up against that high pressure. The storm then turned and went back out onto Lake Superior. So now the wind, where they thought it was going to be from one direction, it didn't happen. The wind started another change, and that's what...
They had the northeaster, which is why they agreed to follow the northern shore to get a little protection. Yeah. Then, as you say, when the storm came back around, the wind changed to the northwest, and they had the whole length of Lake Superior to build and work against their situation.
For the second time around.
Yeah. Did you know Captain Bernie Cooper of the Anderson?
No.
You did not?
No.
Did you know Captain Don Erickson of the William Clay Fort?
I knew him after that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was a shipmaster, and so Cooper was there. I don't remember him, but Erickson. He was. Yeah, I knew him.
He was the first to actually decide to go back out and look for survivors of the Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And much credit to the Anderson, too, who went out. I wouldn't have wanted to go back out in that storm you just came from, but it was actually Erickson who went first, and then everybody followed his lead, including the Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you feel about that situation if they said, hey, you just survived the storm, you know how bad it was out there, and the Coast Guard's asking you to turn around in Whitefish Bay and go back out? I mean...
Well, by that time,
it settled down.
It settled down, you know.
Yeah.
It had reached its peak. By the time they got in the harbor and settled for almost 12 hours, say, difference, that where it's calmed down a little bit, you know.
To make it make more sense to go back out. Yeah.
So I could see that difference there. Originally, the way those 30-foot waves, I wouldn't have went out in that, no.
Right.
No, nobody would have. We were going up Lake Huron, and one of the blades broke off.
The prop blade.
Prop blade.
So this is a recurring theme. We know late in its career they kept prop blades on the deck.
Yeah, two of them.
Exactly.